The Navajo tribes highly respected the two-spirit individuals within their community, not only due to religious beliefs but also for practical reasons. These individuals possessed a unique blend of masculine and feminine traits, allowing them to fulfill tasks typically assigned to both men and women. Regarded as hard workers and artistically talented, two-spirit persons played a crucial role in supporting their extended families and communities. Among the Navajo, having a two-spirit relative was believed to bring economic benefits to the family. These individuals assisted with various responsibilities such as caring for children, elderly relatives, and even adopting homeless children. In Navajo culture, the concept of gender and sexuality was complex, as discussed by Wesley Thomas, who explored the gender systems, relationships, and societal dynamics within the tribe. Prior to the influence of Western culture and Christianity, the Navajo embraced multiple genders as a norm. However, with the arrival of external pressures, individuals who did not conform to Christian norms had to conceal their identities. Despite this, the Navajo tribe maintained a more permissive attitude towards sexuality, with sexual contests being a common practice. Unlike European Christian nations, Native American societies did not place a high value on virginity, and sexual exploration was considered a normal part of adolescent development, with many tribes encouraging young people to gain sexual experience before marriage. In various Native American cultures, the development of sexual life and identity occurred during childhood. The approach to this process differed among tribes in Native North America. However, in the Navajo Society of the Eastern Arctic, parents typically educated their children about sex through play and example. For instance, mothers and fathers openly interacted with their babies' genitals, kissed, and admired them during infancy. This sexual play among Navajo children continued into adolescence, with children openly discussing their sexual experiences. Parents viewed these discussions as a normal part of child development. Despite this, parents discouraged masturbation during childhood, as they believed it could lead to homosexuality. Sex was not seen as a sin or limited to a reproductive role. Instead, it was considered a significant blessing from the spiritual world, meant to be freely enjoyed from childhood to old age. Adults generally viewed children's sexual play as a light-hearted activity rather than a cause for concern. This relaxed approach to child rearing continued to influence individuals as they matured, even after marriage. During marriage ceremonies, each girl would approach a sacred rock and solemnly place her hand upon it, declaring her virginity and vowing to remain pure until marriage. If she were to ever break the promise of purity, the keen knife and sharp arrows would be welcomed. Boys would engage in sexual competitions, measuring their erect penises against each other to determine the larger one. They would divide into clans and bet on champions who would attach a line to their penis and drag a stone as far as possible. Similar to the Mojave Navajo youths, they would also bet on ejaculation distance. Having a large penis was highly valued, and pre-adolescent boys would pull on their pubic hair to stimulate growth. Sometimes, they would apply an irritating plant juice to make the penis swell. Both boys and girls seemed to engage in heterosexual activities at an early age. The recognition of this fact was shown through the brother-sister respect avoidance behavior, commonly initiated between the ages of 7 and 10. Navajo boys would chase girls and openly attempt to touch their vulva. If a girl was caught, they might attempt to engage in sexual intercourse. Navajo boys, as young as 6 or 7, would build little shelters in the forest and play house with girls of similar age, imitating adult copulation. This imitative play of domestic life seemed to be the initial sexual contact in many societies. Crow boys, aged 8 and above, were invited by pubescent and sometimes older girls to urinate instead of ejaculating. Indian parents not only allowed their children to masturbate but also taught them how to do it. The authority to assign a small boy's gender was held by the parents rather than being the boy's free choice. Sources on childhood sexual behavior stress cross-sex occupational preferences. While growing up, Navajo boys engaged in homosexual behavior as passive participants. Masturbation and urination contests were considered normal. Leighton and Clone provide specific impressions on children's sexual explorations. Masturbation is accepted as a normal part of a young child's life, and a mother may stroke the naked genitals of a nursing child with her hand. Here are some observations that suggest she engages in this behavior more frequently with boys than with girls. This difference in behavior and the distinct structure of external genitalia may cause boys to react more strongly than girls when breastfeeding stops. Girls are taught to keep their skirts down to avoid anyone seeing up their dress. Unlike infantile masturbation, children who are approaching the age when they might engage in heterosexual activities are often strongly warned against them. We inform even young children that boys and girls should not touch each other. They can play together, but physical contact is not allowed. We tell girls that a boy might bite off her ear or that the boy might become angry and harm her with a stone. Small boys are sometimes told that the girl's vagina will bite off or injure the penis. All of these warnings, which may be motivated by the practical consideration of protecting immature children from excessive sexual experimentation and preventing teenage pregnancy, emphasize the dangers of sex and are expressed in a way that could create lasting discomfort about sexual activity. Mothers tickle the genitals of breastfed infants. The sexual freedom of infancy is connected to the rarity of adult impotence and frigidity. There is little mention of older children. An autobiographical account reveals that boys who are 7 or 8 years old may be told that girls will bite off their genitals or have vagindenta. Before this age, boys and girls play together freely and may imitate the mating behavior of goats. The discipline and sexual education of Navajo children are primarily the responsibility of the maternal uncle and aunt, while the father and mother are typically seen as caring providers and gift givers. Sex education begins early, around toddler age, when the child's initial attempts at independent mobility make them eligible for the open joking and teasing about sexuality that occurs. In Navajo social gatherings often involve teasing and sexual innuendos towards children. For example, a 2-year-old boy's uncle may make remarks about the size of his nephew's penis and tease him about girls he may have interacted with. The aunt might also join in by teasing the nephew about sleeping with him or accusing him of seeing someone else. Additionally, children are exposed to the sights and sounds of sexual intercourse from a young age, especially in one-room hogans or during ceremonial gatherings. Navajo females are known to be more sexually aggressive, and girls are encouraged to be assertive in pursuing relationships. As children reach adolescence, they are expected to behave more maturely, with sexual skills and behaviors being passed down from adults through the younger generation. The Navajo culture also involves boys being used as escorts for prostitutes and witnesses to potential misbehavior. Despite the influence of American toys and ideas, traditional Navajo practices around sexual education and behavior continue to be passed down through generations. In the past, Navajo children engaged in various sexual activities, such as playfully engaging in sexual acts with their playmates. Girls were often deflowered by boys within their play group, while older children were sometimes seduced by adolescents or adult men. Incest was generally avoided, and parents tried to discourage their children from engaging in scandalous sexual acts. Homosexual relationships were common among young children. Water games were particularly favorable for sexual intimacy, although actual sex rarely occurred in the water due to the belief that it could cause disease in women. Mutual masturbation and forced rectal intercourse were occasionally practiced by older boys. Adults rarely had sexual intercourse with children of the same sex, but betrothal of young girls to old men or seduction of young boys by adult women was not unheard of. Masturbation and urination contests were held among Navajo children, and they were taught sexual education to become skilled lovers. Interpersonal skills were also taught in preparation for building intimate relationships. In ancient Navajo society, there were strict traditions and customs regarding food, with certain foods forbidden for women to eat. Incestuous relationships among Navajo royals were similar to those in ancient European royal families. However, these practices are considered unacceptable in modern society, which views sexuality as a private matter separate from public activities. Ancient Navajo culture openly balanced pleasure alongside family, religion, and the land, but the arrival of settlers and missionaries altered the traditional open-minded ways of the Navajo people. In ancient times, concepts related to sex, adultery, illegitimate children, and sin were introduced and had lasting effects on the culture. A common practice among non-royal adults was a wife-swapping game, where a group would sit in a circle and a man would choose one man and one woman to spend time together, regardless of their marital status. Jealousy was not a concern, as the spouses knew they would have the same chance of being chosen. After one night, the couples would be reunited. Being naked had various reasons in ancient tribes, such as bathing with family members or participating in water sports, and women often went with their breasts uncovered for practical reasons rather than for modesty. Stripping naked in public was also seen as a sign of grief, insanity, shame, or submission. In Navajo culture, there is recognition of 5 genders, including the primary gender of woman, the next gender of man, natal hermaphrodite, gender-diverse individuals known as natal, and masculine females and feminine males, each with their own roles and characteristics. Navajo culture has also incorporated ideas of gay and lesbian identities from Euro-American cultures. Many young Navajo individuals identify as gay or lesbian and do not connect with traditional cultural concepts such as gender and sexual identities in Navajo tradition. Relationships between a female-bodied natal and a woman, or a male-bodied natal and a man, are not considered homosexual relationships. However, relationships between 2 women, 2 men, 2 female-bodied natal individuals, or 2 male-bodied natal individuals are considered homosexual in Navajo culture. The Navajo gender system consists of 5 categories that characterize gender diversity: traditional, transitional, contemporary, acculturated, and assimilated. Traditional individuals live on the reservation and are involved in religious ceremonies, while transitional individuals have strong family ties on or off the reservation. Contemporary individuals have some or little knowledge of Navajo culture, while acculturated individuals have lived away from the reservation for generations. Assimilated individuals have no knowledge of Navajo language or tribal heritage. In traditional Navajo society, women held positions of authority as heads of families or clans, and their opinions were respected in decision-making. They could also attain religious or political honors and could represent their groups to others. Navajo raids in Pueblo lands caused angst among Anglos, and Kit Carson launched a campaign against the tribes. The Navajo surrendered in 1864 and were later allowed to return to Arizona. The Department of the Interior established a political structure to ensure cooperation with the federal government. Many Navajo women were excluded from formal politics but still played important roles in their community. They governed themselves through consensus, and women headed many groups, managing domestic tasks and family livestock. Both men and women participated in planting and harvesting crops, and women also performed ritual chants. The Navajo placed little importance on virginity and had few rules regarding sex or marriage. Although polygamy was unofficially practiced, adultery was punished physically. Divorce was frequent and informal, with men keeping separate property if they left their wives. Women kept their earnings from crafts, while married couples shared livestock and land. Inheritance followed matrilineal tradition, with relatives making adjustments as needed through discussion or the court of Indian offenses. In the past, Navajo marriage customs involved stratified intercourse, where a man could claim his wife's younger sister if his wife died. This arrangement lasted until the sister reached puberty. Boys typically began showing interest in girls around the age of 14 but did not engage in intercourse until around 16. Marriage was often arranged by parents when the girl was between 10 and 15 years old, with the actual ceremony taking place several years later. Some females engaged in prostitution at an early age, and parents sometimes acted as panderers for their own daughters. The Navajo tribe, a semi-nomadic people, had men responsible for hunting and protecting the camp, while women took care of the home and land. They kept sheep and goats and made cloth from wool. The Navajo migrated to the southwest before the arrival of Europeans and adopted aspects of Pueblo native Indian culture. They integrated many ideas, particularly relating to matters such as sand paintings and Navajo spirits. The Navajo are part of the Southwest Native American cultural group. The Navajo tribe had a unique lifestyle and culture. They lived in earthen houses called hogans, which were semi-subterranean dwellings made by digging into the earth. There were two styles of hogans, the forked stick hogan and the round hogan. These were built using timber from pinyon trees and covered with earth or reeds. The Navajo tribe spoke the Naden Southern Athabascan language known as Dai-Bisad. Their diet consisted of deer, small game, fish, corn, beans, squash, sunflower seeds, nuts, berries, and fruit. Over time, they started raising sheep and goats to supplement their diet. The Navajo tribe used bows and arrows, stone ball clubs, knives, and later rifles as their weapons. When it came to clothing, they made use of natural resources. Women spun wool to make cloth for ponchos, blankets, and cloaks. Fiber from the soap tree was used to make sandals, belts, cloth, baskets, and mats. Men wore breech cloths, tunics with concho belts, and high boot-like moccasins. Both men and women wore jewelry, silver and turquoise being popular choices. The Navajo tribe practiced animism, believing that all natural objects, animals, plants, and elements have spirits. The Ye spirit mediated between humans and the Great Spirit, controlling elements like rain, snow, wind, and the day and night. The Navajo tribe had two major ceremonial cycles, the Beauty Way for celebration, strength, and protection, and the Evil Way for healing. Important ceremonies included yuck dances and canala for girls reaching puberty. Thanks for watching. Do like,